There are exactly 50 days until the presidential election, and the wheels are coming off the Romney campaign on a day that began with reports of disastrous decision-making and dissension among the Romney campaign staff. Tonight, the Romney campaign is reeling from the leak of a secretly recorded video of Mitt Romney speaking all too candidly at a campaign fundraiser where he managed to insult and lie about 150 million Americans. The video features Romney speaking at a fundraiser for wealthy donors sometime after Romney clinched the nomination. It was recorded surreptitiously and provided to the liberal magazine Mother Jones.
3 years, all everybody's been told is, don't worry, we'll take care of it. How are you going to do it in 2 months before elections to convince everybody you got to take care of yourself?
Well, there are 47% of the people who will vote for the president no matter what. All right, there are 47% who are with him, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they are victims, who believe that government has a responsibility to care for them, who believe that they're entitled to health care, to food, to housing, to you name it. But it's an entitlement, and the government should give it to them. And they will vote for this president no matter what. And I mean, the president starts off with 48, 49, 48. He starts off with a huge number. These are people who pay no income tax. 47% of Americans pay no income tax. So our message of low taxes doesn't connect. And he'll be out there talking about tax cuts for the rich. I mean, that's what they sell every 4 years. And so my job is not to worry about those people. I'll never convince them that they should take personal responsibility and care for their lives. What I have to do is convince the 5 to 10% in the Senate that are independent, that are thoughtful, that look at voting one way or the other, depending upon, in some cases, emotion, whether they like the guy or not.
The Romney campaign responded to the video with this statement: "That wasn't Mitt Romney speaking." Well, no, actually, they couldn't say that. They wish they could have said that, but it very clearly is Mitt Romney speaking, and the campaign confirmed that by not contesting it in any way. Here is the statement that the losing presidential campaign came up with in response to Mitt Romney getting caught on tape. Mitt Romney wants to help all Americans struggling in the Obama economy. As the governor has made clear all year, he is concerned about the growing number of people who are dependent on the federal government, including the record number of people who are on food stamps, nearly 1 in 6 Americans in poverty, and the 23 million Americans who are struggling to find work. Mitt Romney's plan creates 12 million new jobs in 4 years, grows the economy, and moves Americans off of government dependency and into jobs. Joining me now are David Corn, Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones, who broke the story today, and the author of Showdown. It's out in paperback tomorrow. Crystal Ball, co-host of MSNBC's The Cycle, and John Heilemann, national affairs editor for New York Magazine and an MSNBC political analyst. David, you were the first among us to hear this tape. Your thoughts? I got to say, when I was listening to it just now, I thought I was hearing a guy who's really kind of hateful about these people. He's saying these people, every 47% of the electorate, 47% of them are dependent on government. They believe they are victims. He's saying everyone who voted for Barack Obama believes they're victims. This is not a nice guy talking here.
There was the sweep of the remark that really got me when I first heard it, and I kind of said, whoa. It's not as if he's saying people who get handouts are going to vote for Obama because he's going to support them or protect them. He really, people can judge for themselves the level of disdain, but he really showed a certain sort of contempt there, that anyone who voted for Obama, half of the electorate, half of America, that they all have this image of themselves as being victims, and they don't pay taxes, and they're moochers. And he really set up this campaign that we're having now as this clash between the strivers, those of us in the room who take personal initiative and have made our own success, and the rest of the masses who just want to grab what they can from us via taxes. And for a guy who wants to be president for all of America, to sort of dismiss these people as not believing in personal responsibility, I thought it was a tell. I mean, I don't believe he would say that if he didn't somehow believe it.
David, how much more tape like this is there?
Well, this was a fundraiser that went on for about 70 minutes in talking and conversation. And there were a lot of other clips we put out today in the same article. You can see it at motherjones.com when he talked about his consulting team and why he treats Obama very gingerly, because he doesn't want to insult the independent voters who supported Obama 4 years ago. But we're going to have a piece out tomorrow with some new, I think, very interesting remarks about that Mitt Romney made that have not been reported anywhere yet.
Yeah, you're saving something. Okay. Crystal ball, we've just gotten word that Mitt Romney has just suddenly decided to do a press availability tonight. Just the fact that he's doing that tonight feels to me like a sign of panic.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, it was certainly not a good day in the Romney campaign between the Politico reports about the dissension in the ranks and then this, which I really think these videos are quite devastating, and they're devastating because they're actually not shocking. Is anyone really surprised that this is the way that Mitt Romney views at least half the country? I don't think so. And that's the problem here, is it plays into exactly the narrative and what people already suspect about Mitt Romney and his views towards the American public. And I have to say, too, I want to address this 47% number, because that gets thrown around a lot by conservatives. It's a favored talking point that 47% do not pay federal income tax. That is
well,
true.
Usually what they say is they don't pay taxes,
right,
which leaves out sales taxes, property taxes, and payroll taxes. 75% of taxpayers pay more in payroll taxes than they do in income taxes.
That's exactly right.
That's the real financing.
And so of that 47%, 28% of those, it's payroll. They pay payroll taxes. 10% are seniors. 7% are too poor to be able to pay the taxes. And then we also have 7,000 millionaires who don't pay any taxes at all. So let's not leave them out of the equation.
And Mitt Romney, John Heilemann, may very well be one of those Americans who pays zero in income taxes in certain years.
Well, I won't speculate on that, Lawrence, until we've had a chance to see his tax returns.
I do the speculating around here.
Just as a pure matter of politics, 10% of those people are elderly. Those are the people where Mitt Romney's is the only age group the only age demographic that he's had a lead over President Obama. Now he's basically told all senior citizens who are on Social Security that they're layabouts and that they're too lazy and they can't be reformed. The most devastating politically, the most devastating line in the video is the single line, "I'll never convince them that they should take personal responsibility and care for their lives." The contemptuousness.
47% of the population can't be convinced of that.
That is the contemptuousness and the condescension in that line is horrible. And as Crystal said, it plays to the obvious stereotypes of him as Gordon Gekko meets Thurston Howell III. But I'll tell you what his bigger problem is now.
John, I'll let you finish. I just want to let you know we just got this in from the press availability he just did. He took 3 questions, but this is clearly his version of an apology for this statement. He said that the comments he gave at the fundraiser, quote, were not elegantly stated and off the cuff. John Heilemann, continue with your analysis of the damage if that's the best he can do in his apology.
That will only exacerbate the damage on the one hand that we were just talking about. But surely
there was an elegant way of phrasing that 47% of the population are bums.
But off the cuff means this is what I really think.
Yeah,
it wasn't scripted. It wasn't prepared. It was off the cuff. I'm just telling you what's in my head.
He meant to say from the heart, is I think what he meant to say.
He's in a very tricky box right here, and this is really where his precariousness of his situation is, because this, to the extent that is even seen as a little bit of an apology, the right, which is already reacting with total defiance on this issue. They are not just thinking that an apology is the right thing to do. They don't see this as a problem. They want him to stand by these remarks. So he's in this position right now where his campaign, because of the things that happened last week on Libya, because of the Politico story, the sense of the campaign entering a death spiral is even before these tapes we were on the cusp of that. With this now happening, he's got a problem with the middle of the electorate. He's also going to be pilloried from his right if he seems to back off from this at all. He's in the worst possible box. And in some sense, the worst thing that can happen for Romney is if Republicans just decide the moment has come where he is lost. We're done. It's every man for himself. Let him go. Cut him loose, and let's focus on the House and Senate. And we're not that far from that point right now.
David, you have more to come tomorrow. I know you're not going to leak it here, but how bad a day is tomorrow going to be compared to today for Romney on this story?
Well, let me help Mitt Romney sleep a little bit better tonight. I'm not sure it's as bad, but it will cause a problem. It could cause a problem in other ways. And, you know, I've watched the whole tape. He didn't seem to be too tired. He wasn't slurring his words. He said a lot of things throughout the tape that were interesting. Some were just funny and not controversial. And he was in his element. That's the key thing here. He was in his element, talking to people, and basically like, this is how we in the 1% talk about the 47%, and we try to get maybe we're trying to get 50% fooled into backing us. It was a caricature of a conversation you imagine going on at these fundraisers, and that's exactly how it happened.
Crystal, I've been trying to pick the worst line in here that he said for a presidential candidate, and it may be, and we can argue about this for a long time, it may be, so my job is not to worry about those people. He's saying, my job is to be president of 53% of the population at a maximum. That, in a presidential debate, is a devastating thing to have to confront.
I mean, it makes you ask yourself, which I think a lot of us have been asking ourselves already, why does this man even want to be president? If he has such disdain for half of the electorate, why does he even want to be president? And conservatives frequently caricature liberals as looking down their noses at the common man, as being, these elite snobs. And I think here we see who the real sneering classes are. They look like they are looking down at the rest of the public and live in a totally different world. And David was talking earlier about the man who hosted this fundraiser, who's also a private equity guy, who has allegedly pushed one of the companies that they took over into bankruptcy in order to avoid paying those employees' pension benefits. So when you're talking about the makers and the takers, and you're looking at the income tax, I think a lot of Americans feel like these are the ones who are getting the real breaks, and we're the ones who are working hard and playing by the rules.
Lawrence, the reason that comment is damaging, and the reason you're right it's damaging, is because it is the exact same, in one respect, it's the exact same problem as he had last week on Libya. Not presidential, not serious. For the middle of the electorate, looking for someone trying to prove, who are not convinced about Barack Obama, but they want to know if this guy's a plausible, viable alternative, he continually is acting in ways that are just are beneath the way in which someone acts who is president. Not talking about being president of the whole country. Not taking dead Americans on foreign soil seriously. He looks too small for the job.
We're waiting to get video of Mitt Romney's little apology moment tonight. As soon as we have it in, we will roll whatever there is of it. David Corn, John Heilemann, and Crystal Ball, thank you all for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thank you.
Coming up, we have more from the Romney secret video. The single craziest thing he said on the secret tape is being saved for the rewrite. And next, there are new reports of dissension in the Romney campaign and finger-pointing at the man who is responsible for Clint Eastwood's performance at the Republican convention. And big surprise, it turned out to be the guy who I said was responsible for it that night on the convention floor. And later, the author of this week's Newsweek cover story, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, will join me.